Welcome back to another week of nuclear news. If anyone is surprised that the Sprott Junior Uranium Miners ETF is massively outperforming the S&P 500 in the last 5 days, up 7%. The S&P 500 in the last 5 days up 1%. And most people watching this are not surprised at all by that, because what have we been waiting for? The oxygen of the financial system, that is interest rates, have finally started to come down in an aggressive way. Fed slashes interest rates by a half point, an aggressive start to its first easing campaign in 4 years. So if interest rates are the oxygen of the financial system, it doesn't matter how good the fundamentals are if no one can breathe, especially not capital intensive junior miners, right? They can't breathe in environments of high constricting interest rate. That's why I just laugh when people look at the price action of the uranium and try to draw some sort of conclusion from it, especially if it's down, without looking at the big game, which is always going to be the cost of capital, right? So we're just getting started on this easing spree. This is where we are now. So can this rally continue? It can absolutely continue. The cost of capital has to drop, right? This line has to come down further. And this is only really because we're so early stage, right? Eventually, once you become that big behemoth ExxonMobil, interest rates matter less, right? Interest rates don't matter to the big tech companies. They don't necessarily matter to the Camecos of the world, but they matter to the junior miners. And that's also why the space is so exciting, because we're so early, right? They're desperate for favorable macro conditions. Eventually they won't be desperate, but that's where they are now. And that's obviously exciting for early stage investors because there's major opportunities. So what does the future look like for these assets? Well, every single week, my mind just gets blown by how early we are and how massive the nuclear megatrend is. 3 Mile Island is reopening and selling its power to Microsoft. That's how important nuclear power is, that they're willing to open this plant, which had a scare previously, right? There's a stigma around 3 Mile Island, but they need power so much. Why does Microsoft need this power? Because a dystopian future is being created before our very eyes. And how do I know that? Because when you start to look at the world through the lens of billionaires, you start to see it a lot clearer. This is the billionaire founder of Oracle. This is his vision of the future.
Nuclear reactors, are you kidding me? That sounds completely made up, but it's not. You need a lot of power to power acres of these it's acres of these GPU clusters. I'm not sure. Has anything like this ever happened before?
So he gets it. Microsoft gets it. Amazon Web Services hiring for data center principal nuclear engineer to evaluate SMRs and nuclear fuel strategy roadmaps. They get it. So the billionaires understand the future. What does the future look like? Think of the movie The Matrix, how everything's powered by human body heat and how it's just servers on servers and massive mega computers everywhere. He's talking about acres and acres and acres of mega computers. That's what's needed to power artificial intelligence, right? So if you extrapolate that out, we're talking square miles of data centers. What are they going to be burning for fuel? Uranium. Instead of the body heat of humans, which the Matrix was all about, it's uranium powering this future that the billionaire big tech corporations see, right? That is massive for uranium. Now, even without this dystopian future, the fundamentals are phenomenal, but here's just another glimpse of this. Microsoft BlackRock formed group to raise $100 billion to invest in AI data centers and power. This comes from the Mongrel Cat. The fundraising, which could total $100 billion, will also be used to invest in the energy infrastructure needed to power AI workloads. I'll do a deep dive on the Oklo SMR stock because it's a tiny early stage company designed to power these multi-hundred billion dollar data centers, right? And they're very close with OpenAI, which is very close with Microsoft, right? So we have to stay on top of some of these small cap companies. But just a glimpse into how massive uranium is going to be in the future and how exciting it is to be in an early stage industry where every fluctuation in interest rates spikes it or dumps it, right? That's how early we are, but there's a massive opportunity ahead, right? So let's cover more about the future demand for nuclear, right? India backs small nuclear reactors to power heavy industry. The public-private partnership will build up to 50 reactors. We're talking thousands of reactors in the future to power heavy industry, to power AI data centers, to power space exploration. India considers joining Russia, China to build a nuclear plant on the moon. So nuclear is the only option, right? That's massive demand. What about the supply of uranium, the scarce above ground supply of uranium, which is in a multi-decade supply crunch? European Parliament calls for Russian liquid natural gas embargo sanctions against Gazprom. So the European National Parliament is trying to move away from Russia. So all that does is make the above ground supply crunch in the West even scarcer because Russia was one of the biggest providers, and that's kind of going away. And China's getting closer and closer to Kazatomprom, which is the biggest miner in the world. So there's a polarization of the uranium supply. There's nowhere near enough in the ground in the West. That's why they're pumping billions of dollars into the uranium supply chain in America and Canada. And most of the supply is going to the East, right? So that just causes a massive supply crunch for this crucial fuel in the West. That's why we stay on top of this space.